I have some really super exciting news. Before we get to the show, my good friend Corey Damon Jenkins, and one of your all-time favorites from the podcast, has a brand new coffee table book out. Yes, he does. It's in pre-sale right now. It is called Design Reimagined, a fresh and colorful take on timeless rooms. And you know Corey, he delivers. This book is packed with 10 jaw-dropping projects never before seen, not shared on his social, not shared on his Instagram, not shared on his website, and it includes real practical design tips. It's bold, it's vibrant, it's everything we already love about Corey. So here's the deal. It is in pre-order right now, okay? Trust me, you want to get your pre-order copy all set up so that when they are out for delivery in September, you don't have to wait 1 minute longer. Go to RizzoliUSA.com. That's RizzoliUSA.com and go to the Future Publications tab to put your order in so that you are one of the first people in September to get this book when it comes out. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. If you are a regular listener, then you probably know that I'm spending a good portion of my working hours this year sifting through all the past podcast episodes, finding the connections, pulling out the aha moments that we need to hear again in order to prepare for the new show format coming out later this year. It's a huge undertaking, but it's also been fun and informative, and it's like a big puzzle, seeing what fits together and how each lesson builds on the next. So I'm super excited for that to eventually come out. And as you've probably noticed, while I've been doing this, we've been airing two very special types of episodes. The most downloaded episodes from 2016 to 2024, and interviews where I've been the guest on other top industry podcasts. These are high value, high insight replays designed to help you lead smarter and stronger. But I am still behind the mic, recording new interviews. Maybe not as many as I used to, but I'm here doing the new work as well. And we have some incredible conversations coming your way this summer, including brand new episodes with Shay McGee, Corey Damon Jenkins, and Mikkel Welch, to name a few. So yes, the mic is still hot, and today's episode is proof of that because I have another brand new episode for you. Today, I am joined by Alison Melnick, founder of Catherine Rose Design and Company, right here in the Dirty Jersey. Before Alison was consulting on kitchen renos and sourcing custom furniture, she was living a totally different dream as a marketing professional and publicist at the iconic Madison Square Garden. Alison breaks down exactly what worked for her in beginning this new business, from investing in her brand to leveraging her marketing roots, and how streamlining with the right partners is making all the difference. And I've seen it time and time again, how the right partnerships can make that difference. I see it in my own business, and I see it in your businesses when I work with you one-on-one. When you're passionate about what you do, it's hard to let go of even a small part of the process. But handing off the right things to the right partners, that's how we create space to focus on what really matters. And that's why I love Design Trade Service. They take the back end chaos off your plate so that you can stay focused on the creative work you love. They have a 24/7 online marketplace where you can get access to top-tier brands, dependable pricing, and seamless logistics support. Save hours chasing updates or managing shipments and let them do it for you. Go to designtradeservice.com/Luann to sign up for your free trade account. Allison is a perfect example of finding the right partners, setting up the right systems, and building a company with purpose and clarity from the start. And she knows it's still a work in progress, and she's not shy about sharing what she's already learned along the way. So whether you're wondering if it's too late to pivot or not, or how to take your side hustle seriously from day one, this is an episode for you. Let's meet Allison. Hey, Allison, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. We got to know each other at Schwartz Design Showroom first, right?
Yep.
Last year in 2024. And then you came to Power Talk Friday in New Jersey, like a month or so after that,
Yep.
right? And then, of course, you've been coming to the Window Works Lunch and Loans. I just saw you a week ago. Like a bad penny, Alice, now. I feel like, it's great. It's so fun when you meet somebody by chance and then all of a sudden your paths just keep crossing. And it's fun to continue to get to know you. But today, I'm going to get to know a part of you that I think I've heard bits and pieces of here and there, but not the full, story. One of the things that you've said to me, Allison, is that you had a major career pivot and that had a major impact on your point of view and where you are now and and that's just it. I don't know. Is it how you run your life, how you run your business, your perspective? I'm curious what that lesson before and after is for you.
Yeah. So I had, like you said, a major career shift after I had kids and became a wife and mother. And my mom always says, man plans, God laughs. And I truly believe that after this past decade of my life. So after I graduated college, I got a degree in PR and marketing, and my dream job was to work at Madison Square Garden. It's the only thing I wanted to do, and nothing was stopping me. I got an internship there while I was in college. Then pretty much right after I graduated, I got a PR gig there, and my dream and my plan was to ride the corporate ladder, live and work in New York City. And, that was my life, and nothing was going to, stop me. And fast forward like 5 years working at the garden, and I met the cute producer on a project that I was assigned to and running, and the trajectory of my life changed forever. We're now married 10 years in October with 2 kids, and just a life that I never imagined, but I'm so grateful for it because it led me to where I am today. And it's just, it proves that, you can't plan anything because you never know like where life's going to take you.
So, two questions in there. Why Madison Square Garden? Like, there's a lot like that's very specific, Allison. What was it about Madison? Not like in event PR, in major arena PR, like Madison Square Garden. What was that?
So it's actually funny because I'm not a Rangers fan. I'm actually a diehard Devils fan. And I didn't want to work for a brand or a team that I was personally invested in. So I didn't want to work for the Devils or Prudential Center because that's where I go to escape my day-to-day life. And MSG, it's the Mecca. It's the world's most famous arena. So I wanted to work for the best of the best. And that is why I pinpointed MSG. And I moved around that company for a couple years in different positions and departments, and I still keep in touch with the girls I was in marketing with. We still chat and like DM each other on social media and stuff. But yeah, I wanted to be in the city. I wanted to work for the best entertainment company, and the experiences I was involved with and the events that I ran, it was, incredible, especially at 21, 22, 23 years old. And it's an experience I'll forever be grateful for.
That's amazing. And then the second question in that part for me is when you said you didn't imagine your life, married with 2 kids in the burbs and the way it is, but you're grateful, totally hear it.
Hmm.
Is it that you simply did not envision being married, or you envisioned being married, no kids, you envisioned being a city family? Like, what was the difference there?
Honestly, I never, and this is just how I am. I have such like a hard exterior, but like once you break through it, I'm soft and, you know, lovey-dovey and all that, but I have such a hard exterior that I just convinced myself. I never had like long-term boyfriends or a lot of them. So I was never like the relationship girl. I was so career focused, and I, all my friends did the shore house years down at the Jersey Shore that I did that like once, and then I got my job and I kind of like vanished because I was so career focused. And I was like, well, if I don't if I can't find a guy, like I don't need to be married. So in my head, I was convinced that like you're just never going to get married because you're just going to be so career
Wow.
focused. And any of the guys I did date, like they weren't husband material. Um, and
No,
then I met my
nobody
husband.
that you dated convinced you that you were missing anything.
Correct.
Yes.
And then it's so cheesy, but it really was kind of love at first sight with my husband and I. We met in November. He met my family in March and we were engaged in June.
Whoa.
And it was fast moving, but I mean, we're 12 years in now, and it's just, and like looking back, it's like, how did that even happen? Like, I come from a crazy, strict Italian family, and, but I'll never forget the night that my husband met my dad and the whole family for the first time. He left my house and my dad was like, "You're going to marry him." And I was like I knew that in my heart, but when
Oh.
when my dad said that, it was just like it solidified it.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So your dad obviously also immediately loved your husband to be.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, it's interesting because you almost would say, if you had to pick it, somebody who isn't looking for marriage, somebody who isn't even like the criteria of, I got to find somebody who will put up with my career. It's just like, no, it's me, myself, and I.
Mhm.
It almost makes sense that you would fall hard and fast for someone that's just right, because it's like, unless it's really so compelling, why would you stop what you were the path you were on? So he just was
Right.
very compelling.
Yep.
That's sweet though. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And and you originally grew up here in Jersey. Did
Yeah,
he
well,
also grow up in Jersey?
no, he's from upstate New York, like a half hour south of Albany.
Okay.
So, he was already down here though, working and living in the Hoboken, and
Okay.
it's
So
kinda
we'd already had him here. So
right. I
yeah.
never and I didn't have to do any convincing. We live right around the corner from my parents and everything, so it was easy when it got to that point.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great. Okay, so now but it's not 12 years ago that the business was born. So the
No.
business was only born 2 years ago. So did you guys together stay in the city X amount of years? Like, when did Catherine Rose Design come along?
So there's a story attached to that too. So once I had our oldest daughter Charlotte, I was the one that stopped working because my husband still commutes in and out of the city. So I was the one that stopped working. I became the stay-at-home mom, did that whole thing, and we always knew I was going to do something. What that something was, we weren't sure. We always said, "Oh, I'll go get my real estate license." A lot of the stay-at-home moms do that kind of thing. And then in 2020, our family friend bought a construction company in Westfield. And he reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, I know you did social and marketing and stuff at the garden." He's like, "Do you want to work for us?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And in the back of my mind, I was like, "This is great. It'll be a resume filler. If I ever do want to go back into the city and go corporate again, like at least I have like a little part-time gig on my resume." Because again, I'm always career focused and thinking about that. Um, so I would start going into their homes that they were finished and style them for photo shoots.
Ah.
And I'd be fluffing the pillows and, reorganizing and restyling built-ins. And I'll never forget, I was in a mudroom that had this beautiful, like aqua blue paint color that matched perfectly to the wallpaper with these incredible built-ins. And I left that photo shoot and I was like, I could do this. I can design a house. I could pick out wallpaper. I could pick out pillows. Like, I could do this. And I came home that night and I called my dad. I talked to my husband and I was like, I'm going to go back to school and get certified in interior design. And they were like,
Oh.
what? And I'm like, yep. They're like, the kids are still so little. I'm like, it's fine. I'll go to school. I'll wake up, 5 a.m., do my courses, do my classwork, and then I'll worry about the business, on the back end. So I did the Berkeley College
Oh,
online
yeah.
program
Hmm.
because obviously with 2 young babies at the time, I needed the flexibility in online. And it took me about a year because of the person I am and how particular I am to get my PR and marketing and all of that and my website lined up and ready to go. And I launched in October of 2020. And I thought it would, be slow moving and, one client here, 2 clients there. And it really took off faster than I anticipated or expected. And it's been a wild ride these past 2.5 years.
Okay. So October 22, not
Yeah.
20. Yep.
Oh, yeah. October 2022.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So now that I'm up to speed on that whole trajectory there, what's the thing in the sentence? It took off faster than I expected. Do you think that is looking back? It's only 2.5 years, right?
Hmm.
3 years, whatever it is. But do you think that's attributable to your marketing skills, the website, the SEO? Do you think it's, the work that you did, word of mouth? Is it the social you created? Because literally, if I had a conversation once a week with a designer that's in business under 3 years and they're like, how do I fill my pipeline? That's the big question. And here you are like, I decided to be in business and it got busy, So where do you think it is, Allison?
So I really think it's a blend of all of that. It's word of mouth. So when I decided to do this and I launched my business and did all the branding and stuff, I hired a web developer out of San Diego who used to work with my husband in the industry. So that was like a check off. I hired Danielle Tulo from DLT Creative for my branding and to get my social and everything off the ground and running. She's based out of Hoboken. She used to work she was like an editor at 17 and Cosmo. So I trusted her. I admired her via social for all these years because she's a little taps into like the influencing market as well. So I wanted to hire really good people to have a strong foundation. And I knew that people were going to be going to my website and I knew people were going to be talking about my projects and, word of mouth. So when I put all of this together, I used my own house for portfolio. And at the time that I was going through all of this, my really good friend and her husband were building a house in town. So I
Mm,
went to them and I said, let me pick out everything in your house. Let me help you with everything. The only thing I want in return is access to photograph it. And they said, sure, done deal.
right.
And so my house and my best friend's house are really the 2 projects that I used to create content initially and then build my website. And once all of that was up and running, word of mouth, I feel like House too, the
Hmm.
platform House helped me attract clients. And then I created really good relationships in the industry that my tile girl has recommended clients that have turned even into friends.
Mm.
Friends of friends. 2 of my projects have led me to, I feel like I've done the whole family now at this point. So really word of mouth and creating, an experience that people want to recommend to others.
Okay. And so here's the thing. What I am hearing in here is, you paid for a professional to build a website. I don't imagine it was a $2,000 website. You probably paid like a real grown up fee to build an actual website
Well, he actually gave me a really good deal because
of your
of
husband.
my industry connection. So I kind of like tapped into my previous life to create this new life, if you will.
Okay, and I love that, but the point is that you found an expert. However you figured it out, you
Right.
found an expert. And then also investing in the branding expert. That's an interesting first step as well. And then of course, we're saying that, you ask your best friend, like that's a lot of work to design their home. That's a lot of hours that you're showing up, and your payment for that is content. And so what I'm saying is, what's interesting is that you probably have enough of a business background to understand what you cognitively did. Like you were like, I am investing in this. But I meet a lot of designers at the beginning of their path. And it's like, well, I have to build my website myself on, name whatever dumb platform ever you do these things yourself on, because I don't have the money to do it. And, forget a conversation about a branding expert at the beginning but the idea is that, like, I come from where you are. Like, I come from, we're going to do something, we're going to do it like a grown up business,
Right. And
because a
my
grown up business starts faster if you do it faster, right?
correct. And my whole thing was I was announcing to the world that I was creating a business and a whole new life for myself and a brand. And I didn't want people to think I was a stay-at-home mom and going to be like a mommy blogger, or this was my hobby. Like, this is legit. And this is like, I'm not looking to do this temporarily. Like, I have dreams, I have goals, I have visions, and I wanted people to realize that when I launched and when I, quote
Yeah.
unquote announced to the world that, like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. So I feel like that's why I took it so serious in those beginning stages, because I wanted to be taken seriously. And I
Hmm.
didn't want to be, looked at like, oh, she just like, mom trying to have a little hobby. And when people reach out to me, especially not necessarily friends or family, but acquaintances, and they ask me design advice, I'm like, oh, hey, fill out the questionnaire on my website and I'll, me or someone on my team will get back to you. And it's so that people know that it's my business and it's not just a hobby, because it's not. It's
Right.
my business.
Well, and I love the perspective of it, because the thing is, what I find in my conversations is that there are obviously more than one way to get a business to profitability. And one way is to bootstrap everything on your own, to do everything for free, and a wooden nickel and a this and that and the other thing. But you only, in my opinion, are delaying, the curve there, right? Because to your point, you can start to take projects part-time as a mother raising two kids, and not have a website, and not have defined services, and not have a brand, and not have a marketing plan, and take a job when you take a job, and take a job when you take a job. And individually on those jobs, somebody could be making as much money as you're making on your jobs, right? It's not that
Hmm.
that work is not valid. It's not that that work is not profitable, but there is a point of view, to your point, of an established business versus something I'm doing when I have time to do it. And then what happens is, I find that lesser seasoned designers will spend 1 to 5 years in that season and be like, I don't understand why people don't take me serious. I don't understand why my pipeline fills up and then it goes dry. And it's like, well, who knows it's a real business other than the people who are working with you and getting the experience of the good work you're doing? Because it doesn't negate that you're doing good work. You can be somebody who only takes, the next friend job and
Right.
still be doing good work. But when you have branding and you have a website and you have a whole marketing strategy, now the friends and acquaintances know, but other people know too,
Right.
right?
And I feel like that's just in me, in my DNA. It's from my days at MSG. So it just makes sense that it kind of, you know, works that way.
Right. Well, I mean, you like you said, you were in marketing. It's like, okay, whether I have an arena that I got to let everybody know, or a hockey team I got to let everybody know about, or this design business, there's a plan and a strategy to make sure everybody knows. And I love that you mentioned with starting with the website and the branding exercise, because so many people, are out there trying to let the world know who they are, but they haven't figured out for themselves who they are yet. Right?
It's true.
Yeah. So when you worked with the branding consultant, were there any ahas that came out of that? Or at that point, you were so good and understood it, or did you have ahas where you were like, oh, that's a pillar that I could lean on in my branding, or that's an idea that I could, strengthen? Anything?
So I think my biggest goal with bringing Danielle and her team on in the beginning was I wanted high quality content. I didn't
Mm.
want to throw anything together, and because I'm not an editor by any means, or you know I can't take a good photo myself. So that's why I hire people to do that, so that it's professional looking and it's high quality, because I feel like it's your branding kind of matches and does match what you're producing to clients. And if it's low quality marketing, people are going to think you're producing a low quality product or service. So I wanted the branding and the marketing to match what I'm delivering to clients.
I feel like there are subliminal cues that we all pick up as consumers. To your point, if the branding was high quality and the content that you were putting out, it subliminally says, and so the process and the deliverable in the design part of her business is going to be high quality also. I have two things. I've said it often enough. I often run into window treatment professionals who are actually quite proficient at soft treatments, at high end motorization, at AV integration, all the things. But you look at their website and it's basically a Hunter Douglas website that they slap their name and logo on. But it's like, because, listen, there's a place, right? It's, thank God. Okay, yay, Hunter Douglas. We appreciate you making it so that anybody who wants a website can have a website. But when you get to a certain level and you are executing at that level and you say to me, how come I'm not getting the high end inquiries? And I look at your website and you just insert a donut for your name and everything else on the website is cookie cutter. It's like, well, you're not telling me that you are capable of these things. I don't. And Hunter Douglas, by the way, highest quality window treatments on the planet. Nobody puts money into R&D like they do. Nobody puts money
Right.
into innovation. It's no, they're doing all the right things, but it's the window treatment person that is, to your point, not saying, well, what does this say about me?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And like your website, and I especially Instagram, I think in this industry too, those are your first impressions that people
Mhm.
are getting of you. They're
Yeah.
going to your Instagram, they're going to your website to, read your story, what you're about, and all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So,
It's so funny because, this just happened last week. I needed to get a new car. My car is 10 years old. And I wanted a new car for the last 2 years, but the damn car was running well. And I was like, kind of hard to justify getting a new car when there's nothing wrong with this car. And then all of a sudden in January, something broke. And then between January and April, three more somethings broke. And I was like, I'm done. I'm not the girl that, like, we're not sure if the car's starting today.
right,
I had those years. I had those years in my 20s. I'm not going back to those, right? And so I was like, that's it. I said, I just put X amount of thousands of dollars into this silly car, which I didn't put any money into for the previous 10 years other than maintenance. And so we went and bought a new car. And of course, I asked Nagara to go buy the new car for me. I picked the car. I wanted the same damn car I had. I want a Prius. I want the new Prius. I didn't want to look at it. Just that's the one. Because I'm like Rain Man in my real life. I eat the same thing every day. I do the same play, all the things. I'm just like, he's like, what do you want? You can get anything. I'm like, just go get a new Prius. And I want it to be white. That's it. Right. So the thing was, when he was going to take the car over to the dealer to get the trade-in value, because we decided we weren't going to do the hassle of selling it on our own. He's done that before. And he's like, go gets the money and then we use it for a down payment. He's like, nah, we're going to just trade in. I'm like, whatever you say. I don't care. This is not my lane. I don't care
right.
about this stuff. Right. And, it was so funny because he comes to me here at the office for the keys. And I said, oh, you're going now? He goes, yeah. And I go, well, I was going to run it through the car wash. And he was like, I don't think the dealer cares, Lou. And I said, but Vin, it's a subliminal thing. I
I
said,
care.
yeah, like I just I take the grandkids constantly, Cheez-Its on the floor sometimes. I pick them up each time, but you don't pick up every crumb.
Yep.
And I just looked at him, I said, I think it's just a subliminal message. If this car is clean, vacuum, then what does it say about everything else? And he looks at me and goes, "You're darn right. I'll take it to the
It's
car wash
true.
first."
Yep.
So it's the same thing about every part of our business. It's the
Mm-hmm.
subliminal messages. If you can't manage to keep your car clean, but you tell me that I've kept on up on the maintenance for 10 years, I don't know. It feels like a disconnect. Really? Have you? You say you have, but I don't know that you're credible. And
Right.
I have to make a decision in 5 minutes, right? So, and he got another $1,000, by the way, out of the car. And
See,
I said,
because it was
"See,
clean. No Cheez-It crumbs.
$25 car wash."
That's great.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right. So, talk to me about ahas in the last 3 years of having your business, right? Like hard lessons, anything that comes to mind, like, wish I knew that before I did that, or, this is the thing that's worked for me really well. And it does come from my transferable skills and my, background. But what are some things that you would say to your peers?
So the aha moments. Well, first off, I feel like the past year, because we met about a year ago,
Hmm.
is like the Luann year. And I've learned so much from meeting you and seeing you, on a monthly basis almost. That there was just so many aha moments in this past year that really transformed my business in the past like 6 months alone.
Wow.
And I always say it's the stuff that I learned at Power Talk Friday and, these lunch and learns, and also what Anastasia is doing with Heirloom down in Westfield.
Hmm.
Zoe on her team has single-handedly helped me in ways that I never thought I would be doing
Wow.
at this point. And in January, I sat down and I'm actually looking at it on my office door. I have a whiteboard on the back of my office door, and it's broken up into 2 sections, each client and where they're at in their phase. So proposal, contract, onboarding, design, procurement, all the different phases of the life cycle of the project. And then I have goals that I want to hit. And I have hit almost every single financial goal of this year that I'm having to recreate my goals
Wow.
for 2025. And it's just, I feel like there's so many layers to this business,
Mm.
which I did not realize when I went back to school for this. And I when you think of, oh, you're an interior designer, you just pick out pillows and, you source fun things that, when you walk through Target and Home Goods, and it's like, no, that is not it at all, actually. That's like the jewelry piece of the project. And I feel like in the first like 18 months, it was just trying to like get through stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like I couldn't take on, I feel like if I went to Power Talk Friday in like the first 6 months, I would have been lost. I would have been like, what are these people talking about? What are the different layers and aspects of the business? And I feel like I needed to get a good grasp on it before I really dove into making the strides that I've made.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I've done it in a way faster than I anticipated, which is great. And I'm obviously very excited about. So yeah, it's getting your process in place. Like that was a huge thing that I did this summer, was like writing out every single step I do for every single client, and then putting it in a pretty little spreadsheet and, making it pretty, and then really utilizing trade purchases and trade accounts. Like that has been just a game changer. The quality of the product's better, the markup and the income is, a whole nother revenue stream now. And it's not just, design fees, because the design fees can only get you so far.
Right.
So it's really like my aha moments have been like getting my process in place and really utilizing and leaning on these different trade accounts and the Heirloom program down here in Westfield. So
I love it. Hey, I have some great news for you. The Managing for Profit Tour is on the road again, and I am going to be co hosting the next 3 stops with the Vin Man. This is happening in June of 2025. June 10th, we'll be in Seattle, Washington. June 12th, we'll be in Spokane, Washington. June 13th, we'll be in Boise, Idaho. If you're a window treatment pro who's ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making profitable decisions, these events are for you. They aren't surface level tips. We're talking real numbers, critical benchmarks, and proven strategies that you can apply immediately to your business. Typically, these seminars are $695 each, and you can register completely free with the promo code profits. Go to excitingwindows.biz/MFP and use the promo code profits. If you've ever wanted to meet me and Vin in person too, ask your questions face to face or get clarity, this is your chance. I hope to see you there. So when we think about the Power Talk Friday, so the experts at the Power Talk Friday that you were at were Nicole Heimer from Gloria and Brand, Peter
Yep.
Lang, the designer CPA, Vida Vygotsky, who is a window treatment professional, and Jessica Harling, who is our people and process queen, and then myself. What were some of the things from that particular event that you took away and that you've worked on over the last year?
So, process. The two girls that I sat next to from Connecticut, um, they were they came together. They run their own business.
Are you sure it was Connecticut or wasn't it Rhode Island?
Was it Rhode Island?
I think it was Rhode Island.
Okay.
Julie?
Yes, Julie.
Julie and Erin or Erica.
Yes. So
Yeah. Julie
I
Sanfilippo and her partner. Yes.
yes. Are they based in Rhode Island?
I think they're Rhode Island. I feel like
Okay.
they're Rhode Island. Well, it doesn't matter. This is where my brain is like, who cares, Louise? What are you doing?
So
well, Julie probably cares, but beyond that.
So I remember connecting with them after because I was sitting next to, I'm pretty sure I was sitting next to Julie, and she had this like beautiful PowerPoint presentation up. And I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's our process template. And she shared it with me.
Ugh.
And I was like, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate this. And seeing how other people run their business, and not necessarily that I was copying what they do, because what they do works for them and obviously doesn't work for me. But it gave me an idea of like seeing a process down and then
visualize it.
A visualization of it. And I feel like that was a huge takeaway from me from the Power Talk Friday. And then also like elevating the language I use in my marketing. That was another big one.
You know, what's funny is Julie and her partner are much more seasoned.
Yes.
Right? A lot more experience. And it's interesting. And that's one of the cool things about a Power Talk Friday is you can be 2 years in business or 10 years in business and you can get what you need out of it because the room is small, 7, 8, 10 people in the room. And what I also love is that happens, that learning back and forth. And where here's Julie sharing with you the PowerPoint and that visual on how she organizes her projects. I guarantee you, if I'm talking to Julie and I can't stand that. I can't remember if it's Erin or Erica. It's torturing me.
Yes.
But apologies. The old girl is losing her marbles a little. Cancel. But what you call it? I guarantee you that whether it was from you or Bayla was in that group, was only in business a year. I guarantee you they still left with a good idea from somebody who is in less years business, that because you come exactly that you come with a 10 or 15 year career in marketing, you're going to have opinions and feelings and strategies on that doesn't matter that you're 2 years as a designer. You know what I'm saying?
And
so
I feel like we all had like different stories and different career paths, and it all led us to that moment. And there really was so many little takeaways.
Yeah. Really, really cool. Okay. So process and system, buying wholesale, buying trade, huge, right? Like
Huge.
these are, I mean, every chairman of the board ever. These are core foundational things of what we make sure by the end of the year. If you're doing them already when you come to me, great. We're working on next level stuff. But if you're not, because I mean, thinking back to where you are now from where you started but with also the process of the full success in another career. You see, that's the thing. If you were 20 years old and you were 2 years into your business and you establish your process and systems and you establish your right path for buying, great, you have some learning lessons there, but it's always filtered through the whole of your work experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when you filter it through the whole of your work experience, I keep wanting to say, you know there's a new thing that matters, but it's process and systems and money, and buying wholesale and trade is their money. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what else is there to say about it, right? It's
It
like, it's not easy to do it. How about we say that one more time? It's not easy. You spent the whole summer documenting your process, right?
Right. And I mapped it out, and I actually use this document that I just call my pipeline. And it's a document I used at MSG, project managing like commercials and, all the different marketing spots that we had to deliver. And, you know, we were delivering assets for, 6 different teams each day. So,
Gosh.
and I was the one that was doing all of that and managing all of that. And I was going to the producers and I was saying, hey, like, I need the 30-second Nick spot. I need, the 15-second Ranger spot, and, working with the graphic designer for the static graphics and all that stuff. So I used a pipeline back then that really tracked every single project and every single campaign. And I've used that document now in my business. And I have, the client name, the phase that they're at, and then I document all of my notes from each meeting there. And it's like a 6-page document. And every Friday I sit down and I update it with the week's notes that I took on it. And then I print it out Monday morning, and it just keeps me, aligned with each project, because there's so many moving parts with each
Right.
project and every client's at a different phase, and it just keeps me organized.
I love it. How about your services? Do you do flat fee? Do you hourly? Do you combination? What do you do, Allison?
So I do combination, which I was so happy to hear your last lunch and learn, because that was what
With
Diana, right?
Beth
Oh,
Diana
Beth.
Smith, yes.
Yes. That's what Beth said she did. And I was like, okay, cool. I do that. Which I didn't start doing that. I feel like my rates have changed a lot in the past 2 years as I'm trying to like figure out. So I actually do flat fee for my design phase. Once procurement starts, based on the scope of the project, I do a flat monthly fee.
Gotcha.
Because my life is too hectic to track hours. I cannot track hours for the life of me. I really try. I just kicked off a whole construction project in Scotch Plains, and I'm doing a really good job of tracking those hours just so I can get a gauge on like that type of project. But based on my first 2 years in business with construction projects and, just full service design, room refreshes and all of that, I took kind of an estimated ballpark average of how many hours I was at that project. And I created the average cost of like what 2 months would look like. Because some months you're on site for 10 hours, and then the next month you're only on site for 1 hour based on what's going on.
Okay.
So I kind of figured out what the average of like 2 to 3 months of site visits would cost. And I now charge a flat monthly fee for construction consulting and procurement. And I haven't really gotten any pushback from clients. I think they like to know what their monthly fee is going to be, instead of it being like, oh, at the end of this month it could be $2,000, but at the end of next month it could be like $150 or whatever it
Okay,
is.
that's what I was going to ask. So
it's
you're saying I expect to be engaged in this next phase of the project for 5 months, and you internally might be like, month 1 will be 5 hours to 7 hours, month 2 might be 10 to 15, month 3 might be 1 to 4, but you add them all together, divide it up, and just invoice them once a month for those things.
correct.
Okay. So I like that. That's fine, because like you said, I'm always processing it A, from the consumer side, can I understand it, digest it, and do I think it makes sense?
Right.
But B, from your side, are you making money? So my thing from consumer is slam dunk, right? Like you just said, I'm not like, a surprise. It's like, I know you're on my payroll for 5 months and this is how much I have to give you every month, right?
Right.
Um, but from your standpoint of it, how often are you paying attention to whether it's on an autopsy when the project is done, but if you're not actually tracking your hours in real time, how are you knowing, Allison, that you are not guesstimating improperly and leaving money on the table?
And right now I'm still working through all of that to
Okay.
see like what, and like I said, each project is different. So I have two different projects going on right now where this one client is only doing a kitchen and a bathroom. So her monthly flat fee is obviously different than the client who's doing 4 bathrooms and a kitchen,
Right.
just because
100%.
it's the nature of the project. So far it seems like it's, a very fair and, a good approach. But like I said before, like I feel like this whole part of the industry or this whole part of the business is constantly evolving as I
Yes.
learn different things and different techniques. And, I'm not going to say I'll never go to hourly tracking, but I did start off that way. And it was a lot of like, oh, well, you were really only there for 45 minutes. And like, I just don't have time for that. Like, I need to get in, get my job done. And then, the first Monday of every month, I try to sit down and do all my finances and be really structured. And I feel like flat rates helps with that structured
Yeah.
approach.
So I'm not
And
pushing you back on. Go ahead.
sorry, not to cut you off. I feel like it also helps clients with decision making
I agree. Yeah.
because they're kind of like quote unquote on the clock.
Yes.
And I have a client that she's incredible. I absolutely love her. We've been working together for a very long time because of her decision making process. And it's more on my fault because she was such an early on client and I never pushed my process. Like I kind of let her take over a little bit, which
Mhm.
again, an aha
Happens
moment,
in the
a learning
beginning.
moment. Right. And she has changed a lot about what I do in my business because of the experience I had with her.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've bumped into each other at parties in town and I bumped into her at the coffee shop last week and she's great. And like, I love her. We've become friends, but her project has taught me so much. And
Yes.
I'm forever grateful that she's a great person and a kind person
Yeah.
because she, in a way, like kind of like my
She's
guinea
your guinea
pig.
pig. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But here's the thing for me, and I just listen, part of me is like, I don't have to fix what's not broken. But the other part of me is it's 3 years into your business, not 30. And I would love for you to know that maybe there's no question you're not going to, I don't expect that you would uncover it's broken, it's working. But I just have to tell you, as a rule, I very rarely do I find that interior designers are estimating properly how many hours they spend on the thing. I mean, if I didn't work one on one with the chairman of the boards, I might not have a body of work to base this on, but I do. And it's consistent and it's constant. And if I were working with you, I would not say to you, Allison, I require you to record every 25-second phone call and every 3-minute email, but I would require you, broad strokes, to log your hours on your project. Not that you would have changed. I would say, look, you're still going to estimate your hours. You're still going to do your time flat fee monthly billing, but internally, I would want you to be able to show and justify to me that, you know what? I said month 1 was 3 hours and month 2 was 10 hours and month 3 was 6 hours and month 4 was 8 hours. And you know what, Lou, at the end of 6 months, I billed them flat fee for 40 hours and it came out to be 41 hours. And if you did that for me 3 projects in a row and you were within a 1 to 4 hour variable one way or another, I'd be like, you got a good sense of this. But what I find mostly is designers don't have a good sense of it. They don't. They consistently are underestimating it. And if you underestimate, like, listen to me, I'm not a math genius, but if you charge $200 an hour and 1 hour a week you underestimate, that's 50 times 200. I don't know. Is that $10,000? I can't possibly do that many zeros in my head. Right. But
Yeah.
$10,000, like, $10,000 is $10,000 at 1 hour a week over 50 weeks. Think about that. That $10,000 pays you, a 1099 social media person. That
Mhm.
$10,000 takes you and your kids and your husband to Disney for a week. That $10,000 rents you a beach house for the week.
Mhm.
Like, that's 1 hour. What if you found that it was 4 hours a week? Now we're $40,000. You see? And that's what I find, that level of, this comes from the Gara, right? You met Vinny, you
Mhm.
know the man. We do not guess on money. And this comes from, he just added up at a Partner Window Works partnership meeting, that it come to his attention that installers in the morning are clocking in and then making their coffee and heating up their breakfast sandwich in the microwave and standing around and talking and yakking. And yes, there is a part of the Window Works culture that's like, hey, it's morning. We're all together. Isn't this great? How is your day? Load up the trucks. But then he said, you have 5 installers on payroll. And he took 20 minutes times 5 guys times 5 days a week to 50 years. And he literally was like, and the 4 partners looked at him like, oh my God. like that's, and you might, what is his goal? Does he want everybody to not, does he want to put a sign up, don't clock in until your coffee and your bagel is done? No. He's just saying to the management team, little things add up too, right? And pay attention. And if, you can 3 days a week, maybe spend 10 minutes on heating up bagels and not 25 or 30, get them out the door.
Right. It's true though.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying that. I like the approach to the consumer. I like that. I am saying that. I like not nickel and diming the consumer, and not, I don't get surprised that this month was 10,000 in hours and this month was 1,000 and I didn't know to budget for it. But only 3 years in business. Like, if Anastasia looked at me and said, Lou, these are the hours per phase, per project, per month. I'm like, okay, girl, I know that. Like,
Right.
take it to the bank, write your kids' college education based on that number, right? Like, but I just know that there is a good exercise to be done in there. And I don't care if you use, a phone tracker, just something to get you so that you are not leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table.
And this one project that I'm starting and we're just kicking off, I have been tracking.
Good. Oh, good.
So I just gotta stick with it and see,
Yeah.
if it really like
Yeah.
pans out. So,
You were at Window Works when I said the whole thing about the designer who was, talking about, oh, it's a study. It's only two windows. It's just window treatments. It's probably 3 billable hours. Were you there
oh
for that?
yes, yeah, that wasn't that just this
Yeah,
last
yeah,
week. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, is it though, really? 3 billable hours?
No.
Like, literally. And that was a seasoned designer that looked at me and said, oh, yeah, for this room. So the story was that I had a designer that was coming up with a flat fee for doing, X amount of rooms in a home, but it was a project that the designer was stepping into to complete another designer's
Yes.
job because it was across country and blah, blah, blah. And in order to help come up with a flat fee, I tasked this designer, go back and tell me, like, okay, it's not all from scratch. Some things are just zhuzhing and some things are complete redesign and decoration. There was no construction involved. And 20 hours for the living room, 14 hours for the primary bedroom, 12 hours for this, all of a sudden she says 3 hours for the study. And I said, oh, how come just 3 hours in the study? And she said, oh, because we just have to do window treatments there. And I just looked at her. I said, wait, is there any window treatment there? She goes, no. And I said, okay. So you're saying you're going to only spend 3 hours on the window treatments for this room? Yeah, well, pretty much. Okay. And then I added it up because I do window treatments.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what, girl? And I went through the whole thing and I won't go through it here, drive you all to drink. But the fact of the matter is it's 8 hours to figure out window treatments for 2 windows if you're going to do drapery, shades, and all the things. And I looked at her and I said, so maybe we want to look at the 20 hours for that room and the 12 hours for that room and go back to the drawing board. And it was, and it came out like it was literally the first version of the estimated hours to the second version was something like 35 hours different. Because we're guessing. We're saying, well, and here's what the other thing is happening. Well, if I tell somebody that it's 8 hours to pick 2 window treatments, are they going to push back? So it sounds nicer to say 3. But when you know what goes into picking a window treatment for 2 windows in a single room, you don't have to worry about them not believing you. You don't have to worry about the pushback. It's like you run it through just like I did for you guys in the thing. It's like 1 hour standing in the room just deciding, are we doing drapes? Are they open and closing? Are we doing decorative rods? Are we doing not decorative rods? Are we doing pinch pleats? Are we doing ripple falls? That's an hour, right?
Yeah.
Now we got to find fabric. You're back at your office. Okay, I got to take all the pictures of the room. I got to compare the carpet and the furniture that's existing. It's even longer to find fabric because you're putting it backwards into the project. Like
Right.
the sofa and the wall covering and the paint and all the things are done. So now you're looking for the unicorn that matches all this crap, right? And it's like, oh, and then it's like, send it to the window treatment person, describe it to me on paper or email or on a PO so that I can get you a quote, evaluate the quote, re-put it, put your pricing on it, get all the things, blah, blah, blah. Find an installer, find somebody to measure. I'm like, you're 8 hours. So go tell her it's only 3. Let her go do it for 3. Go ahead, see you, bye. You know, like whatever, right? So anyway, all righty. So what else goes on? Tell me about the trade. So trade furniture. So I know you're working with Anastasia's team. Are you doing all of your furniture exclusively through there, using Schwartz Design Showroom, using DTS as well? What are you doing?
So I've used Schwartz for a project, 1 or 2 projects, and I'm using Anastasia for a bulk of it. It's her showroom's just so local for me.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
And Zoe has been, I feel like Zoe is an extension of my team now.
Wow.
She really has been instrumental to these past 6 months for me, and kind of like, I don't want to say hand holding, but she's like teaching me so much, and she's treating my projects like her projects, and just really great customer service from, a business to business standpoint.
And that's Zoe's role there. She's the designer liaison, right?
So she's the procurement manager for Anastasia's design, the designers, and then also now the trade program that she created.
Right. And so she's bringing all of her experience and expertise to those of you that may or may not have experience in it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm in favor always. And every chairman of the board I've worked with, I have said the same thing too. Like, one of the first exercises that we do in the first month is I want you to go and review every purchase you made for clients in the last year. And it's like, I want to know, did you buy 10 sofas in the last year or 30 sofas? Did you buy, whatever it is? And then I want the list of how many sources you bought it from. Because what drives me to drink is finding out that you bought 10 sofas from 10 separate places. Like, what are you doing?
I honestly, you said that last week at the Lunch and Learn. You referenced that. And one, I feel like you have to source from the same bucket of vendors so that your aesthetic is aligned, because you have a look that you're designing, and that falls back into marketing, and all your pictures are cohesive, and not to say every project's going to be the same, but you have a look and you want to stick with that. And then also it makes it easier when you're sourcing, because you're like, oh, I saw that. When you're looking for one project, you're like, oh, that table will work, with client X, and oh, that rug will work with client B, and so it helps keep the process moving forward as well.
Efficient.
It's efficient. Exactly.
It's like, come on. Like, like you said, if there's a certain look you like, I think the smart thing to do is you're buying 80% of your things from 3 to 5 places, right?
Hmm.
And the 20% that you need the completely out of the box, then I want you to buy it from DTS or Schwartz or Anastasia. And if you're buying the other 80% from those places too, but if you got yourself to the point where you're buying the lowest price on your own, you've got your own account set up, great. But don't have 5 accounts and do 10,000 a year at 5 accounts. Have one account that you do 50K a year at and be important to that one account, right? Have one account that you do 200K at instead of 10 accounts that you do 20K a year at. It just, it's funny because at WindowWorks, in the last 4 or 5 months, we hired a new window treatment professional here. Anne-Marie, you've met her.
Yeah, she was
And
there last week.
yeah, she comes from 10 years experience in the business. And she wants to come in and order from all the places that she's ordered from. And, I'm like, that's an ixnay. We're not doing that. No, this is who makes our drapes. This is where we get our blinds. This is where we get our woven products. Maybe we might have 2 sources for woven, 2 sources for,
Yep.
Blinds, 1 source for drapes. And it was so funny because she initially was taking the pushback from Billy and Kim on the no for being able to use her sources as just an arbitrary no, just as we want you to do it our way. And I said, you must explain the reason for it. Our drapery workroom, you can't know the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we spend with them a year. Now, I'm in the industry. I own Exciting Windows. I have a window treatment podcast. I know 25 amazing drapery workrooms. Vita, Peggy, Elizabeth, Stacy, Amy, like literally off the top of my head. They're all my friends. I love them. No, I do not separate my business 10 to you, 10% to you, because what happens is by being important to the one workroom, I had a designer last year call me up and say, I might need something for Kips Bay, and I might not get the fabric to you till Friday, and photo day is Monday.
You said this story at another Lunch and Learn.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one.
And you know what?
You got it done.
I call the owner of the drapery company, and I say, what do you think about this? Like, could I literally deliver fabric to you, drive it from New Jersey to Pennsylvania and get it to you at 11 o'clock, wait for it and come back with it so Billy can put it up on Saturday? You know what I mean? For photo day. And he doesn't even think twice. He's not like, you're making me crazy. I got to stop my production line. He's like, whatever you need. And that's what you have to develop in your business. And you can't if you're buying 40 sofas from 40 different places. It's like there's no point to that.
And truthfully, that's how I feel with Zoe right now at Heirloom, just because we're constantly texting. If there's an issue, she's calling me, and we're working through it together. And she's like, "We'll get this done. Don't worry."
She knows you're all in, and she's back to give you everything they have, and it's creating your lanes. And it's like, for me, okay, you got 3 vendors you like the sofas from, okay, just not 20, not 10.
Right.
Don't start over inventing the wheel. Like, whoa, I've never looked at this website for furniture. Like, let me see what their sofas are. No, girl, go to the brand that you know and like. I don't know the names, Vanguard, whatever they are.
Right.
Just go and you're going to find something you like. Get it done. Put it on the mood board and move on. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's true. And it creates a whole line of efficiency for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? Having run a business 40 plus years, there might be 10 times in your life that you need to pick up and make a phone call like that. Will you do this if this is the conditions? And I've never gotten a no. I've got a, can you get it to me at 8 a.m? Or can you do this? Like, there's give and take, but I've never been like, sorry, we just don't do things in one day. Like, it just because they know the loyalty and the commitment is both ways, not just one way. right? So what else would you say has been a thing? Any final idea or thought that you would say to somebody in your year of lessons? And when you said this was the year of Luann, did you? I don't remember when I met you last year. Had you not known the podcast before the event at Schwartz Design Showroom?
No, I did. Did know of you, and
But it
heard.
wasn't a deep dive before
Yeah,
that.
I never met you. I didn't meet you until the Schwartz event, and
Hmm.
then I got the opportunity to go to Power Talk Friday, and then
Yeah,
listening to more episodes, and reading your book and all the things. And then I feel like we keep bumping into each other, and then like the LBI connection, and
that's
all
it.
of that.
I was just
So
going to say, as we're recording this, we're going into MDW. So are you going down for the weekend?
we're trying to figure out our schedule this weekend. So hopefully I'll
Because
be
all the
down.
games, all the
It,
kids and their
the
games.
games, my husband's work schedule, events up here, birthday parties.
I know.
It's crazy. But yeah, it's the
I know.
official start of summer
I
here
know.
in
It's so
Jersey.
funny because we were doing the same thing, and I'm just like, what? Like, doesn't the whole world know it just stops this Friday and it can start again on Tuesday?
Yeah,
Like, stop. Why do you have a baseball game? Why do you have this? Why do you like, no?
it's so true. And I feel like only like Jersey people really care about Memorial Day weekend the way we do. And it's MDW.
It's MDW. Like, what are you doing?
That's great.
It's so true. Well, I'm so super excited and happy for you, Allison, the way that your business has taken off. It's clear that it was because of intention. It's not luck. You are an example of be prepared to be lucky, of doing the background work, and taking advantage of all the different opportunities between the industry contacts with like Anastasia and Schwartz and Window Works team and all this stuff. I think it's outstanding. It's a recipe for success. It's awesome.
And you know what? You just said intention, what made me think of back to kind of like going full circle here, back to my branding. So when I was designing my business and figuring out what I was going to name my company and all of that, in my head, it was going to be Alison Melnick Designs, AMD. And when I went and told my dad, he said, absolutely not. You're not naming your business after you. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Well, that just goes all of those ideas. I'm like, thank God I didn't start building my logo yet. And my dad is an entrepreneur. He has his hands on a lot of different businesses, construction being one of them, which is kind of, his business helps my business a little bit, which
That's
is
cool.
great. So I was like, all right, back to the drawing board. What am I going to name my business now? And I wanted it to be intentional and deep. And it got me thinking. And so my older daughter's name is Charlotte Rose, and my younger daughter's name is Olivia Catherine. So I put Catherine Rose Design and Company, but instead of it being company, CO is actually for Charlotte Olivia.
Oh, cute.
So their names are completely intertwined into the business. And Catherine and Rose are actually my grandmother and my husband's grandmother's names.
Whoa.
And I feel like that is the name of the company is so personal and family oriented.
Yeah.
And designing homes for people is so deep and personal. And like, I feel like I get to know my clients on such a deep level. And I feel like that is so aligned with the name that I designed for the business too. So
yeah. I love all of it. And I don't want this to seem like I don't. I do. I love all of the like, and there's that, and there's that. And it's just so much sentimental and personal, intentional meaning to your point. I'm curious why your dad negates Alison Melnick, but Catherine Rose, because what's the world know who Allison is versus Catherine Rose? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, what's
right.
the logic on that? Because
so he's like, his whole thing is like, you separate, which this is going to be so contradicting, but like, no one knows who Catherine Rose is when you really reach out to me. A lot of people think my name is Catherine.
that's my point. It's
right.
still
That's
a
become my
person's
alter
name.
ego.
Yeah.
However, it's a conversation starter now.
Okay.
It makes people see that like there's like a story there, and it makes you connect with people, and they're like, oh, that's so beautiful. And
gotcha.
So it's a conversation starter.
Okay. I like it because, I'm assuming his dislike of your name was to not brand it to you in case you ever want to sell it or move on. But the truth is, for the rest of the world, Catherine Rose is a branded personal name. And until you know you don't know it's not your name.
Right.
But
correct.
okay.
And to your point, the selling, the resale value, God forbid there's ever a lawsuit, like any of those business
Yeah. It's not
things.
you walking around in Westfield named Catherine Rose if you sell it to somebody else. It's like
Correct.
you go back to being Allison, mommy
Yeah.
and wife.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, I love it. So, so good. I just appreciate your time today, Allison. Thank
Thank
you
you for
so much.
having me. This was so much fun. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to keep seeing you around.
That's it. Well, what do we have? We have June
June 2nd.
2nd. I keep
Yep.
saying 3rd, right? June 2nd. Nicole Heimer, Glory and Brand.
I know. I can't wait to see her again. It's going to be like a year.
I know, I know. And she's going to be talking about how to use AI in conjunction with your website to make AI, well, I think what it is she's going to talk about the things to do on your website that make it so that AI finds you better and easier. Like,
That's insane, first of
right,
all.
right?
But Chat GPT has become one of my best friends in both my personal life and my professional life. So I'm here for it.
I know. But of course, she's going to weave it into her branding and website development superpower. And so, and I think it's great. And of course, we're all just like on the tip of the iceberg of how to utilize it and also to learn the ethical ways to make sure that we're using it for good, right?
Right. Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
excited for that one, though. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. All righty, my friend. Well, then I will see you in a couple of weeks, actually.
Yes. Yep. Like I think it's 2. So
That's it. Thanks, Allison.
thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Such a fun conversation, right? I love hearing stories of reinvention from those who recognize it's time to shift, time to trust their inside voice, time to build something new. And Allison's story really drives home how powerful this can be. Think about it. She had the dream job at Madison Square Garden. She wasn't looking for a change, but life had other plans. And what I appreciate most is how she listened to her inside voice. And secondly, what I appreciate is she just didn't fall into this new business, right? Once she made that intention and that switch in her mind, she built it with intention. She leaned on her strengths, her PR and marketing background. She invested in professional branding and a solid website, and she treated it like the business she intended it to be from day one. Not a side hobby, not something to try out, but a real business. So let's pick it apart. First, did you catch how Allison used her own home and her best friend's new build as her first 2 portfolio projects? Right now, I know that this is not unusual, okay, but here's what I want you to understand. In the case of her friend, this wasn't a situation of her friend consistently over time asking her for, hey, Allison, what should I do with this? Oh, what do you think about that? No. Allison initiated the offer. She saw the opportunity and said, you've got a new home to furnish and I've got a new design business. Let's collaborate. I'll do the work and in return, I'll get it photographed and featured on my website. So this is key. She didn't do it like, like a lot of times I've had the conversations. It's 1 question, it's 2 questions, it's 3 questions. It's dragging out, it's endless favors. And because there's no upfront agreement, often when you're in that friend situation, maybe the rooms don't get completed. You do 3/4 of one room, half of another room. They don't finish it to completion with accessories and decor, and it's not photograph worthy. And your friend ends up with a great place and you end up with, a little bit of experience, but not much else, right? So this is what I wanted you to take away from it. I'm okay when we do work for free strategically, like Allison did, with a purpose, a timeline, an agreement, and next steps, okay? Not okay when you work for free or way below your rates because it's a friend and you haven't figured out how to ask for the money. Okay. Now, another thing that I really love about Allison is her mindset around support and how she intentionally builds her team, her brand, and her business. She doesn't try to do it all by herself. She hires the right people and partners to elevate her work. We talked about her professional branding and the developer for her website. Okay. She understands that this is not quote unquote an expense. it's an accelerator. It's an investment in the business, right? And that same thinking is showing up in her trade relationships. Alison has built strong partnerships that serve both her clients and her bottom line. Standout example, her collaboration with Zoe Kimball from Anastasia Harrison's team at AHD & Co. through the Heirloom Trade Program. That relationship isn't just good business, it's profitable business. So when you treat your vendors like partners, when you build loyalty and trust, they will move mountains for you the way she talked about Zoe, right? And in this industry, that kind of support is priceless. So by the way, if you've missed Anastasia Harrison, she was on an Overheard episode last year, and she also was at a recent Lunch and Learn at WindowWorks that Alison was talking about on pricing strategies. Do yourself a favor and listen to both. Anastasia is a powerhouse. She is an incredible #smart lady. And on a quick note here, just for clarity, Alice and I talked about the upcoming quote-unquote Lunch and Learn at WindowWorks with Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand on June 2nd. Well, if you're thinking quickly right now and you're listening in real time, you know it's June 6th, and that already happened. But don't worry, we've got you. The replay is in the show notes, and trust me, you want to catch it. Nicole broke down AI and how to use it for our website and how to think about how AI is actually using our websites. And so this was a completely valuable, necessary, and usable lunch and learn. WindowWorks here in Livingston, New Jersey, we do everything we can to bring you the best content. And this format of the lunch and learn gives you the ability to ask questions in real time. So to know when WindowWorks is having a lunch and learn, follow them on Instagram and Facebook at WindowWorks. All right. Now, Alison also shared one of those hard-earned lessons from her first year in business. She took on too much. She tried to do it all, and she ended up with mono. That's not a figure of speech. That's actually what happened, and that's full-blown burnout. And while, yes, thankfully, it forced her to slow down and reassess, it's a reality that happens far too often, especially in the early years of building a business. But here's the thing. Burnout doesn't always show up as illness. And also, additionally, burnout isn't always the only culprit in devaluing you and your work. Sometimes it also shows up as invisible, unbilled hours. Now, I know many of you are working more hours than you are billing for. I know it. I talk to you in real life. Maybe you're afraid the client won't believe the full hours. I don't know. There's all different kinds of stories that you tell yourself when you work a certain amount of hours and you bill for another amount. The thing is, whether you are not getting your value because you are overworking or you are undercharging, the result is the same. You're running yourself down and you're leaving money on the table. So I'm just going to put it this way to you. One single untracked hour a week. Let's say your billable hour is $200 for round easy numbers. A single hour a week adds up to $10,000 a year. Let me just say that again. One single untracked or unbilled hour at $200 an hour adds up to $10,000 a year. This is not pocket change. When you leave off that 1 hour or you have to redo something that takes you another hour because you're so tired and overworked and you're not focused because you're not taking care of yourself. I don't care what the reason is, all right? What's happening in that moment, you're saying is, what does this 1 hour matter? If I, work 6 and I tell them it was 5. If I took an extra hour because I was so exhausted and tired I couldn't focus. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's your family vacation. It's your kids' braces. It's your money, and you did the work for it. Do not let it slip through the cracks. And also, let's be real here for a minute. Is it really 1 hour a week? Or is it 3 or 5 or 6? Do that math. Do that math. And then think about your family, your dreams, your goals. The next time you either don't track your hours or you don't bill them or you're working in a circle because you can't focus because of exhaustion, right? Now, if the actual time tracking is your Achilles heel, right? So sometimes it's because we know the hours, but we don't have the courage to bill them, okay? But if time tracking is your Achilles heel, please check out Kim Merlitti's class at Luann University, Time Tracking for Profit. Kim is a financial consultant who specializes specifically and only in creatives, okay? She'll teach you how to monitor your hours in a way that's clear and realistic and that you can align so that when you get to the end of every single year, your business is building wealth for you, not a job for you, all right? So I'm just going to say to you, whether you are just getting started or you're a decade in, I hope this conversation reminded you that success doesn't come from luck. It comes from showing up, making smart decisions, and being willing to evolve. Alison is one of those people that was prepared to be lucky, all right? I also thank you, Alison, for sharing your journey so openly. I know many of your colleagues are walking similar paths, juggling family, ambition, identity, all the things. And I'm 100% certain that you've inspired someone today. And, you know, I've mentioned Lu University a couple of times in the intro, the outro, and all the things. Let's get something straight. Luann University is not just another nice-to-have educational platform. This is actual real-time business training for you, the window treatment professional or the interior designer who is done guessing and ready to grow. Okay, no filler, no fluff, proven strategies and mentorship from experts who are working in the field every day. Okay, so whether you're wrestling with pricing, managing a team, creating a spec book, or finally stepping into the CEO role, you will find a class, window treatment professional or interior designer, that helps you master what you need to do and to learn how to create profit by doing it. These are the classes that make you say, why didn't anyone teach me this thing sooner? All right? You don't have to go it alone. We've got 5-week courses and we've got 3-hour intensives, okay? You just go to luannuniversity.com to see the lineup and get ready for this fall, September 2025. All right? Thank you again, Alison. You are a rock star, my friend, and thank you for showing up and listening to the show today. I appreciate you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.